When I was 22 years old, out of the blue, I began to experience, I wouldn't call it necessarily a voice, maybe some would call it intuition. Anyway, that intuition began to tell me that I really needed to go to the doctor. I was feeling really excruciating pain. Now, I wasn't the type to go to the doctor, but I did. And it's a good thing that I did, because even though the doctor had told me that it wasn't a big deal, 48 hours later, I almost died because I was having an ectopic pregnancy. Now, about 10 years later, I ended up with that same voice, intuition, whatever you want to call it. I began to just not feel right. As a matter of fact, right as I was falling asleep, I remember it just like it was yesterday. I remember hearing like a ticker tape in my brain, in 15 years, you won't be here. So it unnerved me so much. I was just shy of my 32nd birthday. I actually reached out to one of my in-laws' doctors, made an appointment. Doctor said, you're healthy as a horse, you're fine. 3 months later, I was diagnosed with cancer. All right, so about a year or so ago, that voice, whatever, intuition, began to reach out to me again. And 3 o'clock in the morning, all the time, this voice has been reaching out to me and letting me know, you need to start reaching out and letting people know that it matters. They need to make the right choices. Number one, they don't need to be afraid to die. Now, that's a pretty big statement in and of itself, but I needed to start letting people know certain things. And I was like, that's crazy. Nobody knows me. Who's going to listen to anything I have to say? But I've been a counselor for over a quarter of a century, and for the thousands of people that I've worked with, one of the things that I've said over and over is, I'm responsible for the effort, not the outcome. And so, same thing right here. I don't care if not one person ever listens to anything that I post. At least I've followed through with what my maker, whatever, has wanted me to do. I've done what I was asked to do, what my God has put on my heart. I'm going to put this information out here, even if nobody listens to it. So, the beginning here, we all have, from the very beginning, when we're very young, we have an intuition, if you will. And so by the time we are maybe 7 years old, by the time we're adults, we form what is our basic sense of our morality and who we are, who we think we are, and our sense of right and wrong. And what I'm talking about right now is, are we living the life that goes along with our sense of our values? So are the choices that we make, does that line up with our sense of right and wrong? And a lot of times, who we think we are and the choices that we make don't really match up. The person that we think we are and the choices that we make are sometimes nowhere near on the same page. Now, it's a good thing to want to be a better person and to aspire to be a better person than we are. That's actually maybe the whole point of being here on earth. But it's a totally different thing to say one thing and to think that we're one thing and consistently make totally different choices than what we think we're all about. That's totally incongruent. That's where we see people who are mentally out of balance, people who are fear-based, people who are addiction-based. And I think that's probably where a lot of this conversation is going, and maybe even where the higher order that was kind of tapping me on the shoulder of maybe even wanting me to speak was leading me in this direction. So where I'm going with this right now is, I want to ask you, the life that you're leading right now and the choices that you're making, does that match with the person that you are? So there are two kinds of people in this world. I had one of my very first superiors or supervisors. She had said, there's two kinds of people in this world. There's love-based and fear-based. And so are you letting love rule you, or are you letting fear rule you? Unfortunately, most of the people right now who are ruling our planet, fear rules them. You can tell fear rules people who are angry, who are frustrated, who are jealous, because anger is a secondary emotion. Jealousy is a secondary emotion. Fear runs a lot of shows in this world. Fear runs a lot of people in this world. But love is more powerful. Love is the strongest emotion, and it's the strongest power in the cosmos. So, my suggestion to you is look inside yourself and see what is generating you, what is motivating you, and what direction are you going in. If you think you're faith-based, what is making the decisions in your life? What kind of decisions do you make? Are you a kind person, or are you a cruel person? And if you think that you're sure of that, then think about the kind of choices that you make, because kind people don't make cruel choices. Cruel people make cruel choices. And that is in every aspect of their life. Love-based people make love-based choices. And that is in every aspect of their life. That dictates everything that they do. Whether it's at work, in their political choices, in their relationships, in every aspect. And I'm not saying anybody is perfect, of course they're not, but it's something they can aspire to. So, kind of look in the mirror, see where you're going, because I can tell you this, there's this really cool guy, maybe you heard of him, his name is Jesus, kind of said this thing, you will know them by the fruit they bear, not the stuff they say. But I can tell you what, the stuff people post on social media, that reveals a lot about people. People who consistently post negative things are not love-based people. They're sure not Christians. They're sure not kind people. They're sure not love-based people. They're fear-based. And when I see that, I know that's what we call your slip is showing. Something's going on. And you can talk a good game about Christianity or whatever your religion is, but that's not anything about what your faith is as far as practicing the religion at the core of that religion. Now, I'm not making a quote-unquote religious, this isn't about religion per se, because it doesn't matter what religion is in the beginning, because it should be about nourishing your spirit, your soul, because that's the most important thing. So as I kind of wrap this up, my hope for you and my goal for you is look inside your heart, your spirit, and I hope that you're being led and guided by love and light, and whatever you need to do to highlight that, hopefully you can get to that place, to get to a place of love and light. See you next time.